Hello and welcome back. In the short lecture, we're going to learn about creation of groups in Azure. To understand about groups, the groups are and especially in Intune, it gives you great flexibility for managing your devices or maybe for your users. You can create based on your requirements. For example, you can set it up groups to suit your organization standards. For example, you can take it based on your geographical location or maybe department wise or maybe hardware based. For example, all Android devices or maybe all iOS devices. In such a way, you can create with the help of groups. Groups are basically used to perform a wide variety of your administrative tasks to scale and apply some kind of policies on top of it. So if you are trying to set it up some kind of policies, definitely these administrative purpose you need to create or you need to have the groups. For example, you wanted to set some kind of policy for all the Redmond users, maybe Redmond location, or maybe Asia Pacific users. So you need to have the groups. That's where the target becomes. So in Active Directory, you have the organization units or OUs, we call it, right? Whereas in Intune or in Azure AD, everything is based on the group. So how strong, how good you are going to be design the AD groups, that is Azure AD groups or maybe Intune groups. That's where you get more flexibility to design and implement your Intune options. You can basically create two different types of groups. One would be the assigned group, other one would be the dynamic groups. A assigned group is where you are manually adding the groups. It's legacy model where you used to create in your Active Directory a specific group and then you used to add the members to that group. That's very similar to assigned groups. Whereas the dynamic groups are completely new mechanism where it would automatically applies if that specific attribute meets the requirement, that specific object becomes a member of that specific dynamic group. So this you can create in two ways or three ways altogether. One would be creating from Office portal, other one would be from Azure portal, which is Azure Active Directory portal, or you can also create from Intune portal, in fact. So either way, from let's start with Azure uh, Active Directory portal, which is this you can create here. So while you're creating, you are getting actually two different options. One would be the security, other one would be the Office 365. Let's focus on security. With this, you can create and assign the security permissions, or you can manage the membership dynamically for a user based, or it can be a device based. Say let's take an example, live example. If there is a user who is a part of finance department, then all those users, finance department users, can be automatically part of this security group. That's how you can configure it. Or you can also configure similar things with the device model. Let's take one of the mobile device or maybe some devices which are part of a different region altogether, that has to be applied later upon some kind of security policies. So what we do is we build based on the dynamic membership so that you can dynamically manage any kind of users or any kind of device memberships automatically. So in such a way, that would be very useful when you're trying to create. Now let's jump back to the differences to view in the Azure portal. Let's go to the Intune and try to create there. So in this also you do have the options to create different group mechanisms which are actually coming from the similar Azure Active Directory. You can check out here. So either you create from Intune or from Azure Active Directory, it would be the one and the same. But when you're trying to create from Office 365, you also get more options, in fact, because Office 365 is more focused on email. So you can check out here. If I click here, the type of the group would be Office 365. So Office 365 stands for you can create a great way to collaborate for the teams and other things Office 365 means. And distribution list is nothing but your email. For example, there's a help desk team. So instead of users to email to individual help desk persons, they can directly mail to helpdesk at whatever the company name.com. So in that situation, people will be creating the distribution list, in fact. So that's what distribution list. And email enabled security means it also have the email capabilities to receive. Also, it can be assigned for the security permissions in the maybe a OneDrive or maybe for the SharePoint portal. And now last one is a security, very similar what we have done earlier, where you can create just for the security purpose, just to assign any kind of permission. So the best way would be creating for us for our demo purpose. You can create from Intune portal or from Azure Active Directory portal. So let's create one of the group by going back to Azure Active Directory and click on groups. Let's create one of the group, new group here, and let's take the security and give the group name as all finance example. And now I can take this as the dynamic user membership, and if any of the person has a value as maybe a department, because these all are the attributes where one or other way users will be having all these values. Let me show you what I'm trying to explain to you here by opening another tab, Azure Active Directory. Let's jump into that. Now, if you go back to users here, let's take one of the user, maybe in this case, Dan account or test account. Let's take Daniel. So this Daniel account or Dan account has some of the user profile identity. You can see here his settings has been very clearly configured. For example, job title is there, department is there. All these are already filled while we are trying to create the user account, right? If you remember this is how we created in the CSV format in the previous lectures. So that values has been completely populating from the users portal. I mean, when we log in, and we can check that those values all together here. For example, the country is coming from India. So similarly, what I'm gonna create here in the dynamic group, I wanted the users, maybe in this case department is finance. So I'll just verify here, is there any value? So definitely the value is the department. I'm just giving here any of this. The user condition is if it is matching or equivalent to or not, or you can do all kind of criterias you can configure. So here I'm saying that if the department equals finance, add query. So what I try to build is, if you can go back to the same thing, and under advanced rule the query has been built as in a such a way that, hey, users dot department equals as finance. That's a query. That's okay. And now I can simply click OK here and create. So it's going to create a group called all finance user group, and then the users are going to show up when I click on my members. But since it just created, you don't find any of the users. You have to give some time, maybe at least 3 to 5 minutes of the time, so that it's gonna go back and redo the inventory and redo the discovery process. Then the members of the users would change to at least to 1. This is a process to create dynamic groups, all these steps to be performed. And now I'll just wait for a second or 2 or maybe a 5 minutes time to maximum until I get it as 0. Then I can able to show you here. If I try to refresh now, by this time the membership should go up. I mean, it should be as 1 at least. So I'll just go back to all users in groups. This is the groups. Now if I just refresh this and click on OK, now it should be showing as a 1. And if I go to the members, there should be Daniel account, which is there. In fact, these are the steps to be performed to create dynamic security groups, either based on the users. Similar steps will apply for computer account based also. We would be creating computer account based groups later point as part of our demos, but these are the basic things you can understand how dynamic groups works.